Hello everyone, watch this review here. They look at Red Arrow from Mattel's Young Justice line. Honestly, not a character I was really planning on picking up, partly because he was available in Wave 20 of the DC Universe Classics line. I figured I'd just get the sort of normal styled Red Arrow. And also because, as far as the show characters go, he was one that I cared a little bit less about. I'm also just a little confused why they went ahead and they did Red Arrow, considering he wasn't really main cast. Whereas some of the actual main cast characters, such as Miss Martian specifically, always sort of comes back to Miss Martian, didn't get a figure in the initial lineup. And of course, Wally West didn't get one either, but he ended up getting some in the one in the Invasion line. So, yeah, just a basic objection, but I wound up picking this guy up because I saw this in a Marshalls. Originally it was $13, and I was like, I don't really care about it. Went down to 10, which is how much I picked up some of the other one figures from the line. Figured, again, don't really care about the character. When it went down to 5, I was thinking, maybe I should pick it up, maybe not. And I was thinking, I just don't know where I'm going to store him. But then when he finally fell down to $2, it's like, yeah, I can't resist picking him up any longer. I'll find space from somewhere. And besides, he comes with a roof prop, which sort of fits with the one that came with Robin, which I also have trouble just figuring out what to do with. But yeah, hold on a second till I get him out of pack. Here we have Red Arrow out of pack, and yeah, he's actually pretty cool. Now, while I'm still not so much a fan of the character, and I do feel that other people should have came out before he did, I have to respect Mattel's workmanship here, especially considering that the general aesthetic and just overall sculpting does greatly remind me of the cartoon. I know that the Kid Flash, the later release, just looked like it was meant more for the DC Universe Classics line in terms of just the body sculpting, but all around this guy does feel like he's sort of been tooled specifically for this line, especially because the upper torso here looks like an original piece. And of course you'll notice that he's got these little bands and stuff for the belts or the pouches. It's sort of connected with a soft rubbery plastic, which is a cool touch. It's not just sculpted on or anything. So he does have full range of articulation despite having those pieces there. Now, as a result of him just being pre-posed in box, the right hip of mine is sort of ganked. Which again, I hate the sort of pre-posed stances, although his was really awesome in box. I did sort of like that pose. But as a result, also the joints are kind of weak, so his feet don't seem to sort of line up when he's standing. But I mean, that's something you could probably fix pretty easily. Now, one of the big pluses with this one is the fact that he actually is sort of posed so he can sort of do archery stuff. That sounds really articulate, right? But if you remember the Arrowette, or shoot, I'm forgetting what her actual name was. I'm calling her Arrowette for the remainder of this. From Series 1, you'll remember that she doesn't really have hands that are sort of posed to sort of grasp either a bowstring or arrow or anything. So, Artemis, that's her name, Artemis. Totally blanked on that. Yeah, it's been a while since I saw the cartoon. I never finished season 2. I've got to go back to that. So I mean, that's definitely pretty neat. They do share the same quiver. It's just recolored. Does look a lot better in him just because the difference in color with the red and black is more distinct. It comes with a whole bunch of accessories, the first being his bow. Now, sort of confused in that it should have a drawstring. Maybe I wasn't meant to clip a band or something. But I mean, it's just sort of odd where it's just here and it looks like it's got a string and stuff. So yeah, I think I screwed something up. I'll have to go back and look at the segment I filmed before, though. It comes with 4 arrows, the first being one that looks kind of like a mace. So I hope it's a mace. One that's kind of like an axe. One that's sort of just a barb or something. And then one that I just don't know what the heck this is. I assume it's probably like a gas error or something. And then of course he comes with his piece of the stand, which I believe connects into Robin's on this side. You'll notice that it has an image of... Alright, my brain is totally fizzling out today, but Sportsmaster, the name didn't immediately pop in there. It's a soft rubbery plastic. He sort of pegged in there, so I think you could possibly remove it, but I think I'd probably damage if I tried. But I mean, again, it's a good looking prop, but this sort of doomed the line. At least I believe it did, because they have these huge things in here. As a result, we get these larger boxes, so it can't occupy the same space that these other figures were. It's the other ones that just hung up in pegs. And then these things don't really add that much value to the figures. Instead, it just adds the ticket price, or the price tag. So it's just one of those really weird, questionable decisions that Mattel made with this line that sort of doomed it. If they just done like a Build-A-Figure or something, it would have been probably a bit cheaper for them, in addition to being more pleasing to the consumer. Just gone without and just priced it a little bit cheaper. But I mean, either way, when you have this coming out and then your normal DC Universe Classics is coming out for like $4 cheaper, or $9 cheaper, depending on where you're buying it, you know, it just doesn't bode well for the line. In terms of height, let me bring in... Oh. Now, I never bought the Batman from this line. I mean, it's on Amazon now, and I don't really care to, but here's the Public Enemies Batman for a little height comparison. He is basically the height of the Batman figures from the DC Universe Classics line. And here's Robin from the Young Justice line. Given that Roy Harper was a bit older than the other characters, it does make sense that he would be closer in height to the adult figures. If you recall, towards the end of the... probably shouldn't mention that. But yeah, for the cartoon's involvement, basically we just saw Roy Harper in the first episode, maybe in the first and second episode, where basically just calls out the senior Justice League members and not taking them seriously, and not even taking them to their real base, and then after they decide, let's give them their own team, he just splits, so... Yeah, we don't see a whole lot of him for most of the first season, then he does pop up again in the second season. Though again, he wasn't actually on the team at that point. Not sure why I moved him off scene, but a quick run through of articulation. It's basically standard stuff, with the exception of the wrists here, which serve on a ball socket, so you get forward, back, condition to rotation, which again is a pretty good sign. I mean, so many of the other figures in this line just had the normal pegs, only the rotation, and you know, Mattel's DC lines just sort of failed to evolve towards the end. I mean, they were bringing out some really cool stuff at times, but then like the very next wave they'd bring back like standard molds. But you know, this is sort of the cooler feature where we do sort of get some amount of innovation, some amount of new tooling and everything. He does have a single peg here at the elbow, or single pin. Rotation at the bicep, ball jointed shoulder, mine is kind of a little off. Actually, yours might squeak as well, if you do pick this one up. You will notice that the bicep joint looks pretty awesome. It looks more like a natural muscle as opposed to some of the other ones where there's a bit of a separation. Such as this, it's just sculpted a lot tighter, a lot cleaner. Head only rotates. No. Actually, I think it's only meant to rotate, but it does sort of feel like it goes up and down a little bit. But it feels more like I'm sort of moving the head off the peg. We have an ab crunch here, which will be sort of impeded by the quiver. Waist rotation, sort of normal T-joint here at the hip. Rotation above the knee, my knee feels a little bit weak, as well as the joint above it. Single pin here at the knee, pretty good range. Then we have a single pin here at the ankle. And yeah, all in all, I think that Roy Harper, aka the Red Arrow, yeah, it was Red Arrow, was an arsenal for this, is a pretty decent figure. I mean, he's not my favorite figure from the line. I think that honor still goes to the Aqualad, which I think they really did a great job on, but, you know, all the sculpting and stuff here is pretty awesome as well. Actually, I wonder if he shares parts with the Aqualad. That I'm would probably compares well, but I do think a bit of the height for this figure probably just comes from the boots, which are a little bit thicker and stuff. So I mean, maybe there is some sharing of parts, but that's completely off topic. Great head sculpt, decent body sculpting, the paint looks great, it's all crisp and everything. No real flaws with this one, with the exception of, just the joints being a little bit on the weak side, a little bent because of the packaging. And just an all-around great-looking figure that should look decent on a shelf. I'm just not sure if I'll display him next to my Young Justice characters, given that he had a less active role with the team. I mean, he was on the team at one point, but yeah. This has been a look at Red Arrow from the Young Justice line. I've rambled enough, so till next time.